welcome to Guitarist TV. I'm your host, Jason J. Rock Houston. Today we have with us the two core members of the band, Bridges Ablaze. Now, I like to ask about that because, I know one of the hardest things for any band is to come up with a name. And I got to tell you, when I got the little press release from your publicist, Jamie, on the band, the first thing that really, before I even read a thing that really stood out to me was the name of the band. I'm like, Bridges Ablaze, man, that stands out. It's like nothing I've ever heard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't even think that was our intention with the name. It was very just on the spot.
Yeah, it kind of says what it is, and again, what I was sharing with your publicist Jamie earlier, before we went on the air here, is that you guys, like, I got on your website and I was reading the bio. The thing that stood out to me the most about the bio is it says, as far as the band's influences goes, we're influenced by everything from death metal to jazz. And I think that's a pretty fair description because I can hear that in your music. And I think the one thing people should know when listening to Bridges Ablaze is you guys really don't sound like anybody else out there. And what I mean is typically when you're hearing a band for the first time, you're thinking, who do these guys remind me of? You know what? No, they don't sound like Metallica. They don't sound like Blacks. They got their own kind of unique thing going. Is that something you guys set out to do?
Most definitely.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. I think you've achieved it because too, in listening to some of the tunes, I love the fact that no two songs sound anything alike. They kind of really just kind of stand out on their own. Again, I don't know if that's something you set out to do because, I'm an old timer, and back in the day when I was growing up, bands would go in the studio and pretty much back in the day, they'd have a thing about, we're going to put 10 songs on an album. They all kind of got to sound like they belong in the same album, but I don't think you guys write like that.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. Every song was just really kind of its own thing. It's kind of wild,
Yeah.
And we may have had like influences, like the imagination of something, but when we went in, it just kind of became a thing, and we didn't really force it, it just.
Yeah. I mean, as far as not forcing it, I can feel that it's almost like having no parameters, like you said, being influenced from everything from death metal to jazz. I mean, the influences are wide and all over the place, and I think that allows you the opportunity to say, you know what, maybe next time we go in, we're going to do something a little more of a ballad, or even something that's cross between metal and rap. It allows you to kind of open the door and do whatever you want.
Oh yeah. It's like as Brien stated, it's been an incredible journey. We come in with an idea and we always leave with something even better.
Wow. And so I understand. Tell the story. I understand you guys met at Guitar Center. I mean, that's pretty unique to you guys going to Guitar Center to buy some equipment or whatever you're doing there, and you end up forming a band.
Yeah,
pretty much. Pretty much. Ruben, I always like it when you start. So.
Cool. So it was a beautiful morning. I'm kidding. So me and my buddy at the time, we were in guitar at North Austin, and I had just moved into the area. I was thinking, okay, well, I'm already done with all my interviews. Might as well pass some time. Decided to hit up a Guitar Center that's north of Austin. And I remember just walking in, just hearing this guy going off, shredding, which is Brien. He was using a Spider Line 6. I can't remember the model. I want to say the 4. But he was just looping, because you're able to kind of just record a few seconds and just shred. And I walk in there, he's just going off. I stopped like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah. Wow.
Staring at this guy, and I thought, man, like he's good. So me and my buddy, we went over to kind of where he was at. There was like a big wall of amps.
Wow.
We start jamming, shredding. I start shredding. He's going. Before you know it, going back and forth. And then he turns off the amp, and I feel this heartache. I'm like, no, I wanted to keep going. And sure enough, pops out.
Wow. Now you guys are both guitar players, so once you start talking, I mean, was there any competition as far as let me see if this guy can out shred me, or let me see what I can do, or
I guess in a friendly sense. Like I remember hearing Ruben shred over, at Guitar Center when we first met, and I remember thinking like, "Wow, this guy's better than me." Like, just try as hard as I can,
Not even
basically.
possible, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was insane, but it was magic. I will say that it's one of those few moments that happen once in a lifetime.
It really does, and I mean, it's so unique in that I mean, neither one of you guys got up that day knowing you were gonna meet somebody at Guitar Center, form a band with,
Right.
And what that would mean. I mean, I understand you covered a 30 Seconds to Mars song, "Kill It," and amazingly, like 184K views. I mean, that's a lot of people checking out your video. That's quite impressive. you know,
Yeah, we're
so
very blessed. That was really interesting when that happened, because the reason we started with a cover is because me and Ruben didn't really know what we were doing. We just got together, disillusioned by all of our other projects, and we're like, let's just test out this idea. Let's try vocals, see what happens. Because we'd both done like backing vocals
sure.
or like stuff in other bands while being guitar players, but we'd never really squatted up and done it front and center like this. And so the kill was, I guess, just a proof of concept.
And so talk
And so
about
when we,
that choice to do a cover. What I mean is, as far as picking a cover, especially when the band's first coming out, it makes sense. I mean, when I was growing up, that's the thing that bands did. Like, when a band was first coming out, they throw out a cover, just a popular song that everybody would kind of latch onto. But there's a certain art in doing it too, because you can either cover somebody's song and you can do like a kind of like a exact carbon copy, or you kind of make it your own, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah. And so, why that song? I mean, it's kind of a unique choice. Any particular reason,
Hmm.
or do you remember who suggested it? That's probably a better question.
you know, I remember Brian, we were at your place and you started playing the piano. That's another thing he does. He plays piano.
Oh wow,
And
pretty
he's just
impressive.
playing and he started singing. And I remember it was the kill. And I was just thinking, dude, you have a beautiful voice. Like,
Yeah,
let's try it. So I remember him and I were bouncing ideas back and forth. We started off with a Spotify playlist,
yeah.
seeing which kind of cross reference each other, and the kill stood out the most.
Well, I mean, Brian, you're right there with Eddie Van Halen. I mean, he although he could play a great guitar, everybody that's what he was known for. He started out on the piano. He was actually a drummer before he actually ever picked up a guitar. Famous story is Alex started out on guitar. They switched instruments.
Yep.
So the fact you can play more than one instrument and sing, that's pretty impressive. Let me ask you, what did you start out playing on first? Like, did you start out as a guitar player, a piano player? What was your story?
For me, I guess it was singing, actually. And then from there, it was the recorder, in fourth
Yeah,
grade, the
oh
hot
yeah,
cross buttons thing.
course, yeah.
And then I went into French horn, and
Ah,
then I went into piano, and I did all of that for a while. And then, my voice started changing, so I stopped singing for a while. And then I ran into the band hall one day and saw this dude just ripping some chords, some riffs. I think it was Green Day. And I
wow.
was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. So I just kind of stopped everything and just went into that.
Well, you just never know. I mean, that is a lot of the stories you hear people getting their musical start, and the school band and that. And I mean, I even remember hearing John Fogerty, if you know who that is. He met his bandmates in the school band, and then they went off and formed, Creedence Clearwater Revival, and see the career they had. You never know.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Look them up if you don't know who they are, because they had some pretty big hits like in the early '70s.
Yeah, no, they're in a few of my like classic rock playlists.
Yeah, down on the corner and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so let me ask you guys have both been in bands before, like you said, Brian. I mean, did you feel the chemistry that when you and Ruben first got together and you started writing songs and you started recording this stuff? Was the chemistry immediately? And what do you think was different this time compared to the other bands you were in previously?
Well, yeah, Ruben, I feel like we've always had crazy musical chemistry.
Without
Um,
without a doubt, the biggest
yeah.
one is respect. Respect for one another's ideas.
And it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting that two guitar players get together and um, have this great kind of friendly chemistry, as opposed to a lot of times two guitar players in the same band are kind of compete, oftentimes compete against one another, seeing who can outshred who and all that, or who can write better songs.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Ruben wrote Never Too Late, and I was like, oh my God, I have to step it up. But I mean, I feel like that's the mechanic of our band, is kind of just like this inspiration thing.
Yeah.
Kind of an inspiration-based cooperation.
And it's interesting music to listen to, because typically I listen to hard rock and metal, and I'll be honest, I'd never heard of your band until I got the press release from Jamie on the band. And I, of course, in preparation for the interview today, when, I have to go on and check out some of the band's music, make myself aware of it. And I was immediately impressed. It was different from what I typically listen to, but that's not a bad thing either. And I liked it. And for example, I don't know if this is a fair description, but to my ears, the song Numb, for example, I would describe that, and it's all over the place, kind of like maybe Nine Inch Nails meets Pink Floyd, if that's even a fair description. But it's all kind of different sounds going on throughout the song. That's what I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you guys do write a song, I guess depending on what song it is, does it typically start with the lyrics, or does it start a lot of times with the guitar riffing?
Oof.
Various
ways. There's moments where we even use our mouths.
Wow.
To the guitar.
Yeah.
Or maybe he has something on the keyboards, or MIDI, even MIDI on the Logic. I mean, it's almost limitless to what we can do nowadays, and it's fun.
Yeah. And oftentimes you'll hear people say, I disagree with this statement. Hear them say like keyboards suck, but I think if it's used in the right way, I always love keyboards. I mean, a great example of that, you look at what John Lord did in Deep Purple, and then you tell me keyboards suck,
Oh yeah, Child in Time by Deep Purple is one of my favorites, and that's like full of that 70s 60s keyboard sound.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And so let me ask you guys, as far as product, I know you have all these great songs posted up on YouTube and stuff, but do you have an album, an EP that you're looking to release, or you kind of do it the modern way, it seems, of releasing a song at a time?
Yeah, I mean, eventually they'll all be linked into an album, that you could buy at a show or online. But yeah.
And as far as playing out live, how often do you guys get to do that?
Currently, we haven't yet, but we're about ready to in the next few months. We've got quite a few guys here in Austin and some scattered out, throughout Texas, one in LA, one in Canada. We got a bunch of dudes that we've been talking to.
Interesting. So when you guys go in and record these songs, I was curious, you're kind of the core members of the band, the dynamic duo, if you will, but do you have any other backing musicians playing on the tracks, or do you guys play everything on the recordings?
It's just us and then our producer.
And so it will be quite a different thing when you take it out and start playing live. Now, when you play out live, do you think you'll have there'll be a need for a backing band, or do you think you guys will just do what you do live?
Oh yeah, there will definitely be a band for sure, but they'll be playing pretty much everything, mostly as it's written.
Oh, wow.
No.
And do you think, because you guys, this is kind of your baby, you wrote the songs and you're featured on the recordings, do you think you'll just let the band come in and do their thing, or do you think you'll be extra sensitive to like, hey, that's not how I play the part on the song, or I'd rather you stay true to it?
It kind of just depends on the song and the part.
Yeah.
And also the musician's skill level, and their knowledge of music and the way they are process giant guitars. Sure. But I mean, there's always the possibility that, we have a great drummer and he just kills this part, then we'll let him, change it. But it would obviously never take away from
the song. Sure. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to kind of really play the tunes live and kind of see how people react to that. And what I mean is, it makes sense for you guys to go into the studio, just the two of you. You're the core members of the band, you're the writers. But when you go and do it live too, because you're gonna have a backing band, other musicians up on the stage with you. But for one thing, it's gonna make the song sound fatter. It's gonna, I don't know how best to describe that, but it's gonna sound different than it does on the record. But that's a good thing too, because if I want to stay home and listen to the record, I'll do that. I want to be entertained, I come see a band.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. For live, we definitely intend to just bring the full sauce, like all the songs imagined as they could be.
And so well, I mean, just looking for the stuff on YouTube, you guys seem to be getting a pretty positive reaction from people checking the stuff out. What's it been like in Texas? I mean, what's the music scene? Is there much of a rock or even a metal scene there?
Oh yeah. Me and Ruben have a lot of friends. Yeah.
Most definitely. There's some in the heart of Austin. They're shredding over at Come and Take It Live. That's a pretty well known venue over there. One of the
So let
mainstream
me
ones.
ask, you guys both play guitar, and you mentioned Brien can sing. Or do you also sing? Do you both sing lead, or how does that work?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
We pretty
Okay.
much, especially also when it comes to the writing process, there's moments where we kind of bounce ideas back and forth, like, hey man, you should take this part, I'll sing this, and then right now we're just kind of coordinating like who's going to be taking what, especially when it comes to playing live.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
playing live, you have to, you
yeah.
have to really be in key or not key. You have to be really in tune with yourself. That's another thing. You have to be key.
Yeah, see that's a thing too. When you sing lead and you play the guitar, that's a very difficult thing because
Yeah,
you got to remember the chords and you got to remember the lyrics.
exactly.
Yeah, and so that's pretty cool. I always dug bands too. I'm thinking a handful of bands like Kiss, the Doobie Brothers, the Beach Boys, where they had more than one guy that sang. Or a lot of those bands, for example, they would harmonize. And even a band like Van Halen on the early records, they had Michael Anthony doing the great background vocals that you just could really hear, and it gave the band a real sound. I always love when you have bands and there's more than one guy singing, or when the voices come together.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorites is Pink Floyd. Watching what was it? Pompeii in '73. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. Pink Floyd. Wow, I can't believe they've been around as long as they are. They're
Mm.
kind of like in their retirement, but yeah, I mean that's a band that still gets talked about, and
Oh yeah.
rightfully so. Yeah, and so what are your guys' plans? Like, do you think you'll go out on the road first, and then then you'll release something? Do you think you'll release it before you go on the road?
Mm. Well, we'll probably be playing shows before we release the full album.
Yeah.
There's a possibility, depending, that the road could happen before that. But, logically speaking, the bulk of the roadage would probably be after,
Yeah. And then it's cool again that you guys are kind of this dynamic duo, two great guitar players, two great singers. I mean, oftentimes, like when you write a song, I mean, you're a writer, so you kind of want to sing it. But have you ever written a song specifically, for example, with Ruben in mind, where you thought this would be so good for him to what he does vocally?
Yeah, I would say more so guitar vocals typically for both of us usually tend to be like an afterthought. We're kind of, it usually starts from the guitar. Um, I'd say. I mean, it could really start anywhere, like Ruben was
Yeah.
saying, start with MIDI or a bass
Sure,
line
sure,
or
sure.
tons of vocal idea, but
Yeah.
typically it'll be like I'll be thinking like, oh, Ruben's gonna love playing this on the guitar, and then we just make vocals work, and we try to get it like, hey, let's do 50-50. Okay, then I'll take this, you take this, and we just kind of repeat the alternating pattern.
Yeah. So you haven't played out live, you said, as far as Bridges Ablaze, and of course you've been in previous bands. So I was curious, if you've ever been outside of your local Texas area, or is that kind of what the hope is with this, is to get outside of just your local area?
Hmm. Ruben, have you played any out of state shows?
Just in New Mexico for Balloon Fest in
Oh,
2015 with All That Remains headlining, Sons of Texas opening up, plus other local acts.
wow, wow, wow.
But it was fun. It was fun. It was a good I want to say that was probably the biggest one I've done.
Balloon
And
Fest, that just the name of that. I mean, it sounds like it would be a fun event to go to.
it was cool. It was really cool. It was awesome to see, All the remains and back when Oli was still here with us. May he rest in peace.
Oh
But
wow.
it was
Yeah.
it was one to remember for sure. And I just remember thinking, dude, this is a high I want to chase for the rest of my life.
And I think a cool thing about Bridges Ablaze being a band that you can't really pigeonhole as far as what your sound is. because it's all over the place. It allows you, I think, when you do go play out live, excuse me, the opportunity to play with different types of bands. I mean, I could see you guys maybe being on a bill with an alternative rock band, maybe even a metal band. You know, I think the sky is the limit with what you guys can do.
Yeah, that was one of our goals too, just versatility in general, just because we love so many different, you know, incarnations of rock throughout the years, you know, and why settle on one when, you know, we can just see what happens. And as a byproduct, yeah, we could definitely share the bill with somebody from, I mean, it would be the coolest thing in the world, you know, to play with a, you know, a post grunge band or like breaking, and then being compatible with somebody like Escape the Fate at the same time is kind of like wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over the place, but I could very much see you guys doing that, which I think just opens the door even wider. And you know, let's talk about songwriting, because I think that's the key to any successful band. You can have a real great look, you can look cool, but if the songs suck and they don't sound good, nobody's going to buy the record. You got to have a combination of everything. And I think Bridges Ablaze definitely has that. But as songwriters, when you have people, you know, come up to you after a show and tell you how much they love the latest music video, they dig your songs, that's going to be a cool feeling. But at the same time, it must be kind of unique that you know what you wrote the song about. I'm sure you've experienced somebody telling you, you know, this song, when I listen to it, this is what it reminds me of, or this is what it means to me. And you're like, wow, I didn't write it about that, but wow, I can't believe you got that interpretation, but that's cool, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruben, I know you wrote Never Too Late about, you know, your stuff, and then fans came to you about their experiences with Never Too Late helping them.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I actually had somebody from work today come up to me. They're finding out that, you know, Bridges is a thing, and they're like, "Oh man, you're one of them." I'm like, yeah, what's up? We didn't know. We know we worked with you. Well, anyways, his wife had relayed the message that she loves that song. She took it to a very personal place in her heart. You know, she had a dark moment as well, and she's doing a lot better.
I mean, that's pretty. I mean, I can imagine you seem like kind of a quiet guy, Ruben, and yet, you know, you create this great music, and that's like a cool story that somebody from work probably. Oh, you mind listening to my song here? Oh man, we had no idea you did this. Wow, we're really impressed. This is cool stuff. I tell more people about it, you know.
Yeah, they're always going off like, man, Brien can shred. I'm like, oh, you have no idea. Just wait until the new tracks.
And I don't know. People watching, like I say, I'm meeting you guys online here for the first time. We, you know, there's a funny backstory that we were supposed to do this a week ago, but we had to reschedule for tonight. But like just meeting you guys online here, I can feel the chemistry between you guys, and it's weird because I think you both are the yin and the yang, and that, you know, maybe Brien's a little more talkative and outgoing, and you're a little more quiet. So it seems, I don't know you, but yet you guys get together and you create this beautiful music that needs to be heard.
Thank you.
You know, it's almost like Batman and Robin together, you know?
Yes.
Ruben is definitely like my yin yang counterpart for sure.
Yeah.
I feel the same about Brien.
Wow. Well, you know, it was really great talking to you guys and doing this today. And like I said, I'd love to do it again in the future. So I'm going to try to post this within the next couple of days. So I'll let Jamie know once I have a date, but probably by Thursday or Friday, this should be up, and feel free to share it. If you guys are happy with the way this came out, let's do it again down the line. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Thank
you guys. Best of luck with your music. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank
guys. Bye-bye.